I hereby call the Student Fees Commission to order at 9 a.m. Advisor Fonseca, please proceed with the official roll call to establish a quorum.
Treasurer Bum.
Present.
Vice President Nguyen.
Present.
Speaker Fan.
Present.
Chairperson Tijuana.
Present.
International Commissioner Argumedo.
Present.
Underserved Commissioner Wong.
Present.
Engineering Commissioner Nyandaro.
Present.
Freshman Commissioner Naylor.
Present.
Health Professions Commissioner Pang.
Present.
Out-of-State Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Adult Learners Commissioner Runquist.
Present.
Student Affairs Representative Jensen.
Present.
And then University Budgets Representative Pletchard.
Here.
There are 14 members present, 10 of those are voting, a simple majority will be 6.
Thank you, Advisor Fonseca. Please proceed with opening commission business.
All right, there's a couple of things to start off with for today. First of all, happy final day of budget presentations. Yay. Today's scheduled, again, shorter than the other ones. We'll begin this morning with counseling and psychological services, and then just a reminder, we'll have a break in between at that point, depending on where we are time-wise for the statewide tornado drill. When that happens, you'll leave everything in here, and we'll just head down to the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes for that. Hopefully that doesn't take long, and then we'll get right back, and then we'll have the EOF Debate funds. Then we'll hear from the Student Outreach Services, Student Accommodations and Testing, and then we will wrap up the day with the Graduate School Scholarships and Graduate Student Programming. We have a couple things to wrap up the afternoon with before we adjourn for the day, and then we will be done with budget presentations until we return tomorrow. In the teams, a couple new things have been added to that folder. As a reminder, any additional questions that have been coming in or things that have been sent in from the other folks, if they said they'd get back to you on certain things, have been downloaded and put into those. They are labeled with the group that it came from. So please look over those for your questions. The ones that were sent yesterday, I sent those out this morning. We're just waiting for those responses. As I mentioned in the group meeting this morning, today is pretty much the last day. If you have any final questions that you want prepared answers for, today is pretty much the last day to get those sent in, so the sooner the better, especially if you still had any from yesterday, or if you have any from the groups that come in today, please make sure that we get those sent in to the group meeting so that I can get those sent out so that we can have them in time for tomorrow. If there are things tomorrow that comes up, reality is similar to appropriations. When the groups are gone, then there's not really a way for us to reach out to them to get some information at that point. So just a reminder to make sure that you finalize any questions that you have with that. Additionally, inside the teams, there is a document, an Excel sheet that is called Student Fees Carry Forward. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but it's in there as a reference. Those are, as of July 1st, 2025, are any of the dollars that were unspent from one fiscal year into the next. It doesn't relate to any of their fiscal year 26 funds, but we'll talk more about that specifically tomorrow, so you know what that means. And then the other thing, nope, that's it in there. Okay, and then just a reminder about, especially as we go into tomorrow, and even with Senate tonight and other things, just a reminder about COMA and CORA policies. Our meetings are open meetings, and so make sure that you are not, again, congregating with 5 or more people in a space to have conversations about things. One person is fine. Specific questions, please send those to Luke so that he is aware of them, but don't get together to talk about things at all this week, but especially as we get into tomorrow. And then do keep in mind that anything related to this process in your emails or text messages or the group meeting, all those are also open records as well, so do keep that in mind. As we prepare for tomorrow, I think the couple of things that I would remind you of, especially because I imagine those who are also senators in this room, you have Senate tonight, so I imagine senators may have questions. it's a normal practice at this commission that the only person who can speak on behalf of this commission is the chair. And so if there are questions that are specific of, what's the commission going to think about this? Your great response is, go talk to Luke, because he's the best person to answer that question. Especially for those who are also senators in the room. Same sentiment exists in that space. The only person who can speak on behalf of this group to the Senate or to any other areas in the student government is Luke, so please make sure that you send folks to Luke and don't answer those things. You are, as an individual person, can say, I think this, especially if you say the word I, but don't say we because you can't say the word we. Are there any questions on that or any clarifying points that folks have as we move on? Wonderful. I think that is all that I have, so I will kick it back over to you.
All right, we'll move into Section 3, Public Forum. Public Forum provides a chance for individuals to have the privilege of speaking before the commission, limited to 3 minutes only. This is a time for the commission to listen to what the community has to say, and to that we offer our undivided respect and attention. I'd like to remind everyone that, though we allow the speakers of privilege to use this platform, the opinions of the speakers do not reflect the opinions of the association. Advisor Fonseca, has anyone requested to speak during public forum?
No.
All right, Advisor Fonseca, we're ready to move on.
I'd probably recommend we put on recess until the group gets here to get that set up for.
All right, we will recess until 9:25 a.m. call this meeting back to order at 9:24 a.m. It's the chair's opinion that all members are present. Advisor Fonseca, please proceed.
Mr. Chair, pursuant to commission regulations as set by the SJ bylaws, each requesting entity is entitled to a total presentation not to exceed 30 minutes, with 15 minutes for the line item presentation and 15 minutes for questions by the commission. Additionally, no member may interrupt the presenter during their 15-minute presentation except for the chair. At the conclusion of each presentation, the chair shall open the floor for questions. Members must seek recognition prior to addressing the presenter. The chair reserves the right to silence a member if they speak out of turn or are not called on. Finally, the chair shall regulate question periods, ensuring that no similar questions are asked more than twice.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
The next group is Counseling and Psychological Services. They're located on tab P or page 248. Turn that on, the red light will come on.
Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You'll have 15 minutes to present your line item, covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we'll have a question and answer period. We will begin with introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the vice chair.
Hi, my name is Xiaowen Wang. I serve as the underserved commissioner.
Hello, my name is Grace Naylor. I serve as freshman commissioner.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the out-of-state commissioner.
Shilu Surrender, Financial Aid and Scholarships.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca, Student Government.
Michael Cepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Fletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Ronquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Yandor, Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Gamedo, International Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Fon, Speaker of the Student Senate.
Hi, I'm Luke Bum. I'm the student body treasurer and the chair, and you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Good morning. I just want to thank you all for taking time for me and allowing me to speak and talk to you about our services. But first, I just want to really thank you, faculty, staff, and administration for really creating a community of care on this campus. When we have this community of care, we can support students at every level of their education. And this investment, this engagement in creating this space creates better outcomes for our students. And I'm really excited to tell you about that today. And before I jump into that, I also have to thank my staff. It is without them, everything that I'm talking about today, all the data points, all the successes would not happen without their tireless day in and day out efforts working with our students. And so I really want you to think about that when you hear these numbers. These are occurring from some amazing individuals that we have over in the Student Wellness Center. So CAPS, what we do a variety of things. We do individual, we do group, we do couples, we do crisis services, we engage in prevention programming and consultation. We provide numerous paid applied learning opportunities, and we really work to support our WSU campus community, as well as support students in their academic and personal growth. We do this in consultation with, again, multiple student affairs departments. I'd like to highlight just our work with Hope Services, as well as with Student Health Services. Some real fun early successes that I want to share with you all today. It's really kind of fresh off the press, is when we look at our national numbers, we do pretty good. And so nationally, when we compare ourselves to other college counseling centers, so UCCs, University College Counseling Centers, the national average for individual attended appointments last year was 3,502. For schools of our size, 15 to 20,000 schools, 15 to 20,000 enrollment schools, the national average was 4,852 for attended individual appointments. CAPS last year had 6,305 attended appointments. That is 1,453 more than schools similar of our size. So there is a pretty good demand still with what we do. For hospitalizations, the national average was 8.43 hospitalizations per school. Last year, we had 17. These were all voluntary hospitalizations. They're not all voluntary, but those are hospitalizations. The involuntary hospitalizations was 2.85 nationally. Ours was 3 last year. And so what I like to highlight about that is our severity of our student body is great, but we are not forcing people to go to hospitals. We are working with them, and they're wanting to have help as well. Additionally, this is where some really proud things occur for me, is our wait time. So the national wait time, including weekends, is 7.9 days. For schools similar of our size, it is 9.7 days. Last year's, ours was 6.8 when you include weekends. We get students in 2.9 days sooner than the national average when it comes to schools our size, while serving more students. And the icing on the cake is the impact that we have. The national retention number, so this is when we question students, are you more likely to continue at this university because of this counseling service? The national average last year was 71.4. For schools similar our size, it was 70.2%. Last year, that number was 78% for us. And when you look at our fall numbers, so we ask this every spring and fall, when you look at our fall number for fall 2025 was 84%. 84% of the students that walk through our doors for services are saying they're more likely to continue because of our services. That's 13.8% higher than the national average. And so when you look at that number and you say, we're seeing more people, we have a more severe population, but we're keeping our wait times lower and we're having a greater impact, that's pretty outstanding. And that's not done on an island. That's done because of a community of care. That is done because of a campus that cares about their students and wants to invest in their health. And so let's talk about the demand, the trends, and the utilization that we've seen at this campus over the last 10 years. So individual attended appointments, I spoke to you about last year's, which was 6,305. That's a 44% increase in the last 10 years in students attending individual appointments. For student unique client utilization, so unique students coming into our services, over the last 10 years, that's been at a 44% increase. And then students reporting suicide attempts before entering into treatment is actually up 49% within the last decade. 10 years ago, it was 10% of our students were reporting a past attempt. Now we're at 15%. On top of that, within 2 weeks of their first appointment, 40% of our students that come through our doors are reporting suicidal ideation. That again is 4.5% higher than the national average. With that, we see increased crisis services. So last fall, we had from September, October, November, we averaged every day at least one crisis appointment. We also had 91 students last year on a suicide-specific protocol. That was a tailored intervention to address suicidality. So again, there's 52 weeks in a year. We have 91 students. We're getting pretty close to 2 a week coming through our doors for services. On top of that, when we just look at unique utilization, September last year, so not fall, but last fiscal year, we had an average of 10 new students come through our door a day, just for services. And then that next month, October, it was 6. This past fall, we were again around 8 and 6. So, well, our utilization is up, our services is up. We've gotten to the lowest wait time we've ever had in the last 5 years. We peaked once at 6.64 average wait time, not including business days, and we actually have dropped it down to 3.82 as of this current year. So we're pretty thrilled about the ability that we're able to meet the demand, meet the severity, and still have a really great impact. Now, when we talk about the students we serve, what are we talking about? Well, almost 40% of them are first gen. Around 25% of them are reporting at intake that they're concerned about failing a class. And around 26% of them are served in partnership with care team. Just under 50% report past traumatic experiences. Another 40% report past harassment. Around a quarter report unwanted sexual experiences. One of the numbers that really stands out to me is of our students last year, 61% reported feeling isolated, almost 60%, so 58% reported feeling left out, and over 50% reported lack of companionship. And so we have students that are in need, we have students that are experiencing loneliness, we're having students that have a history of trauma. With that, we believe that CAPS helps. So last year in our satisfaction survey, we asked them, how did we help? Did we make things better? Did we make things work worse? 95% of our students, this is based on 241 responses from our students, 95% of our students reported we helped. 96% reported we provided an inclusive environment. 93 would recommend us again, 94 would return. We're pretty happy that we can continue to provide services that students, one, are getting help and feel good to come back if they need help again. These are things that we pride ourselves in, that we're able to hit this demand, hit this severity, and get students in as quickly as we can. This is not done alone. Again, this is done with many partnerships. One of the things that has really made this happen is our paid applied learning. Our partnerships with our doctoral internship program, state universities, and then programs such as social work, psych department, and the IL department have really helped us increase our training, increase the workforce pipeline. And I can proudly say that over 2,000 hours of services provided last year were provided under the direction of licensed providers supervising individuals in training. With their help, with that applied learning experience, these individuals get to have firsthand experience at being a therapist, so when they graduate, they can move into the practices in our community and help our students. So why does this all matter? Why does CAPS matter? Why does caring for our students matter? Well, we know that 71% of students report that they considered dropping out, and that was because of stress. That's the #1 reason students report dropping out. We also know that when students receive treatment, they're more likely to be retained at a university. And so that's where we come in. We feel that we can help retain students, we can help them be successful. We believe the role an education can have in a person's life, and we understand the role that CAPS can play in supporting those individuals while they're obtaining their education. And on top of that, we align with university goals, priorities, and SEM goals. We work to increase persistence rates. We again focus ourselves in being student-centered, and we really want to support Kansas as a whole in providing a pipeline for future employers for these students. So what happens? This is where it gets a little gloomy. What happens if we don't obtain our funding? We see increased wait times, we see increased referrals, we see decreased coordinations with care teams, academic departments, and other student affairs partners. We see dropout, stop out, overall poor retention, and then most drastically, most unfortunately, we see increased student deaths and attempts. Because of your all's support, we've avoided the capacity cliff. We've maintained high quality services while experiencing increases demand and severity at the same time. So what we're asking is, we're asking for your support. We're in an interesting situation right now. We are very critical to the student experience, and we directly serve students. We take our funding extremely seriously, and we try to be the best shepherds that we can with the funds provided for us. As you can see through our materials, we try to diversify our funds as much as possible to find any way that we can, again, best support our students. Since taking over in 2023, I've worked to modernize our staffing models and really looked at how much clinical service can we create, how much capacity can we create to best serve our students to get them in. We take data-informed approaches to staffing to best, again, serve our students. However, the magnitude of the cut that we're facing right now is one that we can't just move some numbers around and make work. This is really a position is on the table for us at this time with this cut. And so what we anticipate is the NIST funding not getting supported at the state level. With that possibly not going through at the state level, that would be a cut of $103,000 to our department, which is a position. We are also taking a cut of around $29,000, well, actually just under $30,000 from the GU cut and grant funding from WSU Tech. We are going to absorb those cuts. We can take that cut. We are not asking you for that additional $29,000 and change. We are asking for support with the 103 because that is a position. And so we believe with your support, we can continue to be the model for the state of Kansas. We can continue to balance treatment and serve our students the best that we can. We can emphasize our work on campus and not referring students out. Again, a lot of campuses have moved to walk-in models, step care models, session limits. We don't have those. We have a student come in and we will serve them as long as they're enrolled. And we will work as best as we can to help them graduate because we see the impact that a graduation and an education can have in somebody's life. So with that, that's our request is an additional 103 to the flat amount that we asked for last year. And so with that, I just really appreciate you all taking your time and listening to me, and I'm happy to answer questions. And just one more thing I want to say is this: thank you. What you all are doing is pretty hard, and there's a lot of competing demands, and just thank you. So, thanks.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll now open up the questioning period. I have a question kind of on your revenue table there. I see that you're projecting around $520,000 from GU funds this year. Could you speak a little bit to where those funds are being allocated within your entity?
Yes. So with, again, being supportive of multiple departments as this community of care within the Student Wellness Center, those are our main higher up administrative positions because those positions cost more, and they also have, I know this, they have children, and so their benefits are more expensive too. And so it is the best salary savings is to put those positions in GU funds because that actually opens up RU to be able to fund additional clinical positions.
And then you said those positions were housed within the Student Wellness Center. Are all of those positions strictly for CAPS, or are they for any of the other entities within that house?
It's a little bit of a combo. So that position is our training director, myself. So that's like CAPS. And then we also support Dr. Young and Dr. Provines. They also provide clinical supervision to our applied learning individuals, as well as run groups, and are part of our training team. And so they do less direct clinical services, just like I do less direct clinical services, but they oversee training of individuals. So,
Commissioner Naylor.
Hi, yes, so on your budget request, I am seeing a $35,000 miscellaneous income revenue. Can you talk about that a little bit?
that's the revenue that we get from WSU Tech to support their students as well. So.
Commissioner Argumento.
Good morning, Dr. Leonard. It's good to see you. I just had a quick question about, so it looks like we're currently funding about 7 employees through, through SGA. Are you asking us to add an additional employee basically to the benefits or to the employees that we already pay for?
I think I get what you're saying. It's not adding another, it's not a +1, it is shifting the funding over to RU. Because of the NIST funding that we're getting cut, that will be a position that will be lost. So it is not asking for a new position, it is asking to maintain and retain an employee. And since their funding through NIST is GU, it would be asking to get it that way. I think I said that clearly.
Commissioner Wong?
What were the conversations like when you developed this budget, moving the GU funds over to the RU? So you had mentioned that NIS funding was helping to operate with the GU fund side of things, right? So what was the conversation like when developing the student fees budget and moving your decrease from GU funds to the RU funds, which includes student fees?
That is a great question. That was one that we had, I believe I've had with multiple student affairs personnel within the Student Wellness Center. And it's a very hard conversation of what do we look to fund? What can we fund? What is our priorities? What are positions that we have? And yeah, it's the priority. I don't know if I'm answering this for you right, but let me know if I'm wrong. But it's looking at what is the best way to serve our students. And it is taking the NIS funding that is in its own fund, that is disappearing. And so that is not just in the GU fund revenue that we were talking about earlier. That is its own line, and that is disappearing. And so looking at where we can fund that from, it would be through RU would be our best shot.
Looking at your expenses, could you speak a little bit into the $144,000 transfers that have happened expected for FY27 and happened last year?
Yes, so that's balancing the RU fund. So we have an RU 96 where student fees come in, and we have RU 94. The RU 94 fund is one where we have other people's salaries still in, and so those positions that you saw in there, some of those are funded in RU, and so it's just cleaning the books.
Commissioner Nindaro?
Can you speak a little bit more about why the grant from WSU Tech is being cut?
That was the grant from WSU was a 3-year grant, so we were actually preparing for that grant. And so looking again at the year coming up, we were like, okay, we know that is being lost, and so how can we absorb that? How can we take that? We were also informed of the GU cuts pretty early, and that there was conversations of that, and so I was preparing for that pretty much all fall. However, the NIS cut came to my attention around January.
Commissioner Nindaro?
Just to follow up on that one, is there a possibility of you renewing this grant?
With WSU Tech? Not at this time. I've consulted with them, and I've had discussions with them, and they said plan for this not to continue. And the WSU grant is not the NIS funding. So that, yeah.
Commissioner Argumento?
Yeah. So I just had a question. So this position is it directly takes care of patients, correct? How many patients would you say this, if the loss of this entity, how many patients less would you see? Did I word that right?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the questions we often give. Like, what does a day look like for a therapist with our trainees? It's a hard question to ask. However, that position, with them being a post-degree position with their main role would be to be seeing people, they would be one of our highest direct service providers. And so losing that is, when you have individuals in training that are here less than 40 hours, and then when you have individuals like me that are here 40 hours but are doing the majority of it is supervising or overseeing budgets and things like that, you're not doing as much direct clinical work. That position is the highest direct provider. So you're looking at 20 plus hours a week of clients. So you're looking at around under 30, but like 25, 26 is our goal.
Speaker Fawn?
Good morning. Can you speak a little bit more about why the NIS funding is no longer being supported by the state for CAPS?
I wish I had a better discussion for you on that. What I do know, and I will be transparent about this, I'm not trying to hide or anything like that. There is a House bill and a Senate bill, and one of them it's in, one of them it is not. And so they're telling me to anticipate that it's not going to go through. if somehow there is a miracle and it does go through, I am coming in flat. So this is not me saying, hey, I need more money, and then it comes through and then me not tell you, and then I get that additional fees. I don't want those additional fees if the state comes through with it. Like, I feel good with where we're at. We'll take the $29,000 hit. We'll do our fair share here at this university. It's just 103 really does hurt us if it doesn't go through.
Vice President Nguyen.
With your carry forward amount, it said it was due to an unfilled position, and it's also stated that that is not expected in the future. Was that position filled?
About to be. So that's the main hope, is that everything works out and we can fill that position. What we ran into is we ran into some licensure issues at the state level, and that actually cost us about 1.5 years because of some state licensure issues that to be honest with you, I've been proactive in trying to make that change, and it is in the process, but that is also stuck at a state level desk right now. It's actually been approved. But that person has actually moved on because we weren't able to make that happen. So we're filling it with another position.
Vice President Nguyen.
And I guess to clarify, what position would that be?
It would be a postdoc. So this is somebody that recently graduated. Again, those are those positions that have a high return. They receive clinical supervision as they finish up their postdoc year. And so their main role is seeing clients. It's an amazing position. So,
Commissioner Wong.
Since you did state that it was about to be filled and you had a carryover of almost $200,000, and now that it's going down to $45,000, what did you spend the other dollars on?
that's great. So again, we support multiple departments on campus. So computers, we upgraded a training room. So we had a storage room that we developed into a full therapy office. It's actually we've expanded therapy space in our department, and we're very proud of that. We are in the process of increasing our vault system, and so we're moving and modernizing our training. We're moving and modernizing our training recordings. So we used to use this USB recorders, and now we're actually going to have videos and recordings. It's going to make supervision a lot better and improved. And then we continue to support our VP of Student Affairs, VP, Associate Vice President of Wellness. So initiatives within Counseling Center, Hope Services. We've replaced computers for business operations. And so these are all just initiatives to keep supporting our Student Wellness Center. Oh, and our staff within our center too. So.
Just to follow up on that, could you speak a little bit more into the specifics of the financials that you help Hope Services out with?
Mm-hmm. So this just goes back to like initiatives. So programming, it's more of like operations, OOE. We also support a position over there with the kind of the technical side. It's a unique. I wish I could speak to that more. It's kind of a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but he does like the tech side of the Suspenders for Hope rollouts with campus and community partners. It's the presentations, like the digitized aspect of it, I think.
Commissioner Argumento.
Yes, you mentioned a couple questions ago now that the NIST funding at a state level is kind of on a bill to be approved, and then on the other one it's not. Did I hear that correctly?
As of what I know, maybe do you know more? Okay.
So the Kansas legislature is in session right now, obviously, so they have two bills. They have a House bill and a Senate bill. And this is included in the House bill right now. It is not included in the Senate bill. There's a conference committee, so we'll know probably in the next, 3 weeks, whether that's fully approved or not. So right now, there's about a 50-50 chance of it being approved.
Okay, so yeah, so just following up on that, so there is a chance that this NIST funding could be approved.
Yes, and if it does, I'm not asking you for any additional funds. I want to come in flat. That's what I'm saying. If it doesn't come in, that's a position. So,
Advisor Fonseca.
I think it's also important to know that we won't know about the state decision because we make our decisions tomorrow. So I think Tomorrow I'll provide you all with some guidance as to some options you have at your disposal, but unfortunately we'll be done way before the legislature is even remotely near done with its part. But we'll have that on the list for tomorrow's discussion.
Commissioner Wong.
This question honestly might be for Student Affairs or Scott, but as student body president, I shared with Kevin that I did not want the GU cuts to be absorbed by student fees. Can you talk a little bit more about why this GU reduction is being submitted to the fees? What did the division do to address this reduction before the request came here to the Student Fees Commission?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, as Dr. Leonard said, I think we view the GU cuts that were received campus-wide, which were about 7% to each area, differently than we looked at the NIST funding. And what we had worked with is we cut significantly from the Student Affairs Administration budget, and then worked on some other things to address the 7% cut. And then because the NIST funding was up in the air, we honestly, as a Student Affairs Division, hadn't really addressed it. And I think Dr. Leonard just is trying to create a safety net in case that does fall through, especially being it would fall through after this funding is available for him to request. Is that accurate, Dr. Leonard?
Yeah, I completely agree with Scott. This has always been viewed as something unique and different to this, as a completely different funding package at the state level, and it is not part of the 7.5% and everything. So.
Yeah, and just to follow up, and Dr. Leonard touched on this, his percent of the GU cut, or his portion of that was about 7,500, and he's indicated he's addressing that within his own budget as a cut instead of asking you all for that.
All right, we have time for one more question. Commissioner Peng.
Hi, so just looking over question 8 of a breakdown of your positions, one of your mental health counselors is only covered by SGA funding by 5%. Where's the rest of that fund coming from?
That's NIST funded.
That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for presenting today. The commission will stand in recess until 10:15 a.m. Call this meeting back to order at 10:15 a.m. It's the chair's opinion that all members are present. Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
The next entity is the debate team, which is located on tab Q or page 277. That button, that light will come on.
Welcome and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You will have 15 minutes to present your line item, covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we will have a question and answer period. We will begin with introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the vice chair.
My name is Jiawen Wang. I serve as the underserved commissioner.
Hello, my name is Grace Naylor. I serve as freshman commissioner.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Ping, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the out-of-state commissioner.
Sheila Surrender, Financial Aid and Scholarships.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca, Student Government.
Michael Zepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Pletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Runquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Gomedo, serving as International Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Fon, Speaker of the Student Senate.
Hi, I'm Luke Bum. I'm the student body treasurer and the chair, and you're welcome to start whenever you're ready.
Oh boy. Give me just a second. For some reason, it's not pulling up my opening remarks. But my name is Philip Samuels, and I'm the director of debate here at Wichita State. I'm also an assistant professor of communication, and this is one of our graduate students in the Elliott School of Communication. His name is Thomas Babcock. Thomas was a debater for us here at Wichita State, a very good debater, actually. And he's going to be here to talk about his research in sort of the rising costs, what a lot of the PowerPoint is about, the rising cost and how Wichita State compares to other programs, not just of its size, but the programs that we compete against. And so I want to start with just like a brief opening remarks where I talk about the history of Wichita State debate. Then we're going to get into what Thomas is going to talk about for a few minutes. And then we will finally wrap up with obviously our appeal to why we think we do deserve, at least stable funding, but hopefully an increase in funding. So essentially, in 1896, when the institution was still known as the Fairmont College, the Wichita State University debate team was established, which makes it one of the oldest student organizations on campus and one of the university's most accomplished programs. Since the 19th century, it has maintained a long record of national competitiveness in intercollegiate debate. Its most historic achievement came in 1968 when Robert Shields and Lee Thompson won the national debate tournament, which is sort of like winning the NCAA tournament in basketball. It's the most prestigious tournament you can go to in intercollegiate debate. In 1976, Robert Felke and Richard Godfrey earned the Copeland Award. Across decades, Wichita State has consistently advanced teams into the top 32, top 16, and top 8 at both National Debate Tournament and CETA Nationals, which is the tournament the organization I'm currently the president of, while producing multiple top speakers, including Philip Hubbard, Robert Felke. Today, the team builds on a legacy that was established by people like Quincy Lee Brown, and Jeff Jarman, who led the team up until just recently in 2018. We have deep alumni support, including members of the 1968 championship team, and I think it's important to understand where we are in the giant scope of not just debate, but our organization specifically. We're sort of at a crossroads. Funding has become more important recently than maybe ever before. I'm going to let Thomas talk to you briefly about sort of the funding headwinds that we go into, and then I'm going to talk specifically about the reason why SGA money is super important to our endeavor here. Thomas?
Yeah. So as Phil said, my name is Thomas Babcock. I'm a current graduate assistant for the Elliott School of Communication, and I was on the debate team for 2 years because I was a transfer student. So here, So a little bit of background, I recently published a study in a peer-reviewed journal. It is forthcoming, the citation is up there, that surveyed debate directors from across the nation of other peer institutions who also compete in NDTC to debate. And this was an attempt to establish national baselines to see where other debate teams across the nation are with their resources that they are given, primarily travel budgets and staffing resources, and also looking at competitive outcomes and program outcomes such as participation and competitive success. So the survey had 38 peer institutions. So the study tracked, like I said, two main programmatic resources, travel budgets and staff size. These resources were found to have a statistically significant impact on the two most important program outcomes as established by the literature, participation and competitive success. Here is a national snapshot of the travel budgets of all of the peer institutions. One of the survey respondents did not provide their budget, which is why this totals up to 37. But as you can see, it's somewhat multimodal, but it certainly skews towards the top end, with the majority of teams having over $40,000 in travel budget, and a large portion of those having over $80,000 in travel budget allocated. Here's our travel budget in comparison to the national average. So the national average of all 38 programs was $63,648. Ours was $25,000. And this is not simply a mismanagement problem. Of the 38 teams surveyed, 61% or 23 of the programs reported facing financial insufficient funds for travel, which meant that regardless of their budget category, they were facing financial limitations on their ability to travel to tournaments as well, given the rising costs of travel in the United States. Here's the national snapshot of coaching staffs. So as you can see, the left graph is the average number of coaching type per team. So for full-time, part-time, GTA, and undergrad, and given that the director was the one answering the survey, directors are not counted during this. And then the one on the right is the average number of coaches per team reporting at least one coach in that category. So for teams who have a full-time coach, they report an average of 1.7 of them. For part-time and GTAs, they report more than 2. Here's our coaching in context. So the average number of coaches for Wichita State over the last 5 years is 2.75. Right now, our coaching staff is 1 full-time director, Dr. Samuels, and 2 GTAs. So that would be me and Neymar Freeman. We are not on debate-specific lines. Most of our stipend and our ability to pay, for our lives comes from our stipends for teaching COM 111 classes, not for assisting the debate team. And if you exclude GTA and undergraduates, the national average for coaching staffs is 2.95. Wichita State is obviously 1. Here's our participation in national context. So remember, this is a program outcome, something that we would like to maximize. The average number of student participants of programs nationally was 12.6. Wichita State averages 9 to 12 students served per year. The majority of our students are in-state, Pell eligible, minority, and or first generation. Debate has also been found to have a statistically significant relationship with improving student academic achievement, leadership, research, communication, note-taking, confidence, and ethics. And along with that, 91% of our students who have graduated from Wichita State University with their undergraduate who participated in debate have matriculated, which means that they have gone on to graduate level study, either primarily law degrees, but also other degrees like communication, like myself. And here's our competitive success in context. So Wichita State in the last 3 years have made it to the top 32 in the nation at both the National Debate Tournament and the CETA National Championships. Of the 38 programs surveyed, only 50% of the teams made it to the top 32 at either of them, and only 28% of the teams made it to the top 32 at both. Wichita State University was the only university to have made it to the top 32 at both national championships with a travel budget less than $80,000. And Wichita State was the only university to have made it to the top 32 at both national championships with a combined coaching staff total of 4 or less. And here's the conclusion. So we are one of the most competitive programs on a national scale. We also boast a winning record against elite institutions such as Harvard, Dartmouth, and Northwestern. We are a high-impact activity. It is a proven track record of both matriculating students and supporting them through their undergraduate studies. And I don't believe that we are asking for an outrageous amount of money, just simply the national baseline. And then I'll hand this back over to Phil.
Behind us, what you see is our cash budget for the, oh, I'm so used to my voice just carrying. What you see behind us is the attached budget for this year. Some of these are soft because we haven't spent the money quite yet, but they are projections. Mostly that's in the food category. Everything else is what we spend. We are allocated $25,000 from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. We are going to spend over that this year. We were lucky enough that the prior budget officer had rolled over think $8,000, which makes that possible for us to do. But once that money is gone, it's gone forever, and we won't have any more money left. I think it's important to understand that these costs are continuously rising. If you look up there under the plane tickets for seated nationals, which is in Binghamton, New York this year, the plane tickets were about $750 per person. That's, I mean, last year we took a trip to Newark and the plane tickets were $350 per person. So just when you think about what we're up against and the headwinds, we try to maximize by going to a couple of regional tournaments or also doing tournaments online. But those online tournaments are something that's left over from the COVID era, and they're being phased out rather quickly. And so we won't always have that. I think the last thing that I want to talk about is the scholarships, which is where most of the money that you give us will be spent. We want to attract top-notch students. We have 6 students that we have recruited who will be coming here. Some of them absolutely positively are first generation who need the money to come to Wichita State. And our ability to contribute to that matters significantly. This year, we were only able to give a few scholarships, as you can see. We gave scholarships to our GTAs, $2,000 a semester for a total of $4,000 each, and we were able to give one of our students $2,000. Without this money and without an increase in this money, it is impossible for us to attract the types of people who can help us make this program successful. And so ultimately what we are asking, because last year we took a $15,000 cut, and that's the difference in the amount of money we were able to give to students in scholarship right before you. That $15,000 cost us about, I mean, you can look there, 6 to 8 students. And it will again. So we urge you to give us enough money to make it possible for us to both be competitive and have competitive coaching.
All right, thank you so much for your presentation. I'll now open up the questioning period. So going off of this slide right here, I see that it says that you spent $10,000 on scholarships in 2026. Looking at your snapshot from 2026 here on page 286, it looks like it says that you spent $25,000 on scholarships, with $10,000 coming from us and another $15,000 from the foundation.
That foundation money was never realized. That foundation money, I spent 2 days trying to track down this line item. That foundation money was set there as a placeholder. It was never dispersed. I never had any access to that money. And you know, it makes sense because they don't want us to spend our foundation money, what little of it we do have, because they want it to grow. But that money, I mean, if you look in the next column, it says the actual amount, and maybe it's not on that page. Which page are you on, 286? Yeah, that money we never saw. In 2025, we had, the year before, we had $25,000. The next year, we just had 10. And while it shows a placeholder for that money was never dispersed. We never had access to it. So I don't know what else to say to that.
So the $10,000 is, Mark, is how much you spent strictly
That is-
on scholarships for
because that is
2026?
that is what we had access to.
Commissioner Argumento?
Oh, thank you for coming in today. I just had a quick question. You mentioned earlier that the School of LAS contributed $25,000 to your budget this past fiscal year, but on your snapshot, I'm not quite seeing that. Did I interpret that wrong?
I can step in. So their $25,000 from the Elliott School of Communication is GU funds. This snapshot is only showing the restricted use funds. for us.
Thank you for that.
Commissioner Peng?
Hi, sorry, I had to find my page real quick. With question 4, please provide a current balance of your reserves to date and justify the need of those reserves. You had stated that you are going negative going into this year. Do you know the number of that?
So here's the thing, and this is, coming into this year, I was not actually the budget officer, even though some of these faces I remember, saw me in here last year. So I did not have complete oversight of the budget. What I learned was that the person who was the budget officer had been saving monies that he could roll over into future years' budgets. But under my impression, what I thought we had spent was, going into this year, we had zero. We had actually spent negative money. We actually had a little bit of surplus, but that surplus is now gone. So, yeah. Yeah.
Speakerphone?
Yeah, so I saw on your breakdown that most of the scholarship funds were used to support graduate teaching assistants. So can you kind of go into the process of selecting which students would get those funds for the graduate teaching assistants? Did they have to have prior experience within the debate team when they were at Wichita State?
They do not. We actually had a graduate student a few years ago who we helped fund who had never actually been in debate at all. So they are open for really anybody. We just need help. We need people to help me drive to tournaments, because we have lots of them. We need people to help judge at tournaments. We need people to watch debate rounds. I mean, it's not accidental that the teams that you see that are successful have many more coaches than we do. And our graduate students, you know, when you put like 4 together, they might equal 1 coach. They have their own things going on. They're writing theses. They're not all in the Department of Communications. Some of them are in other departments, and they are there to help us, which we are greatly appreciative of. But at the end of the day, like, we are willing to fund or try to help fund anybody who's willing to help us. So in that respect, the way we choose them is often who gets in, who wants to do it. Because it is extra, and not everybody has time to do extra. And so,
Commissioner Peng?
Hello again. For your scholarships, it says that the program seeks to allocate $20,000 in debate and forensic scholarships, but with the numbers added up, it added up to $23,000. Was that just a misprint?
it should have been 25,000, so I clearly made a misprint. We want to allocate what we allocated the year before, which was 26,000, and 1,000 of that came from our budget. But we want to allocate 25,000. That's what we want to allocate. And if I made a misprint and said 20, that's on me. But I would like to give money to as many people as I can. I'd like to give money to the people who are matriculating here in the fall, because tuition is rising, as you all know, by 3.5%, and it just means that it's going to be increasingly difficult for people to dedicate their time and energy to something like debate when they have to do things like work a job. So we try to make that as, we try to free them up as much as we can so they can be competitive.
Advisor Fonseca.
I think if you go, Commissioner Peng, to page 279, the paragraph below that starts, in addition to the scholarship support, there's the other $2,000.
I don't.
Vice President Nguyen.
I see that it stated that the cut critically impaired your competitive function, and for debate, it requires regular tournaments. So how many competitions in a year does this look like to be successful, and what did the cut number of it look like?
So the current tournament schedule you have in the previous graph here, and so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had 10 tournaments, so we cut 4 tournaments. The average tournament is 14 a year, 14 to 15, and so we had to cut 4 tournaments.
Commissioner Naylor.
Under question 6, you state that the scholarships and amount given, you also state that 2,000 will be used for travel, but you state that the remaining will support instructional and coaching resources. You already have a line item for 5,000 supporting graduate students. Is those other instructional and coaching resources, is that outside of those graduate students?
Yes and no. No, not really. We do spend money on some, like judging at tournaments, because we just don't have enough people to cover our judging often. But that does not come out of the money that you give us. That comes out of other monies that we have. So like our travel budget. So maybe I'm not fully understanding your question. I don't know which question you're asking me about. Question 7, you said?
Commissioner Naylor.
Question 6, so you have 5,000 allocated to graduate level scholarships. If you go down a paragraph, you have that extra 2,000 to be dedicated to tournament level entry fees and other aspects. It says remaining funds will support instructional.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. I think my argument here was just simply if we had money left over, we would put it towards the program. I don't know that we will. I have no expectation that we will, but if there was a world where we had money left over, it would go towards things like entry fees and operating costs. It's unlikely that we will, because it is my objective to give it all out in scholarship. So, and that may not be reflected purely here, but that is my objective. I mean, some of this is, when you're writing and answering these questions, you're sort of like wish fulfillment. Like, if you could have everything you want. I mean, here we are asking for 23,000. I'd like 25. Am I going to get that? Probably not. So we try to work with what we know we can hopefully get. So
am I correct in saying that the status quo has been for all SGA funds to be allocated strictly towards scholarships and for the Elliott School of Communication to be allocated strictly towards travel costs?
That's the way it has been in the past, at least to my knowledge. When I looked at previous budgets, that's the way it was supposed to be. We give money to the graduate students. This year we gave a lot more than, we gave a lot of money to graduate students because we needed them. But it's not really towards operating costs. It's mostly all towards scholarship money. And so when we have the money, as you can see, here, we give it to people, and it makes the size of our team bigger. It allows us to give more opportunities to people, and it makes us much more competitive. And so, and competition aside, debate's just kind of cool. Like, it's pretty dope. Like, it's a high-impact educational activity. The kids learn a ton. They come out smarter, and even if they don't win a bunch of tournaments, they come out, I think, better people, at least certainly smarter people. And so that's what we're talking about here. That's what your money is going towards, giving underserved and first-generation kids the opportunity to participate.
Commissioner Peng.
With the scholarships you've given out, how do you determine who gets more in money and all that?
Well, our top scholarship that we give is $4,000 a year. We try to give as many of those as possible. If we have to make decisions on who gets more and who gets less, need becomes the next most important thing. The kids who need it the most. And so we try to, we try to hopefully not have ourselves in a situation where we have to make that decision, but sometimes we are, and we try to to help our kids who need most, the most.
Commissioner Argumento.
So looking at question 8, we get a breakdown of the 3 students that you pay in scholarships, right? Which is $8,000.
Yeah, that was a typo. I saw that last night. You're talking about the student worker question? Yeah, that was from a few years from last year. The person we gave that $2,000 to is a young woman who is a debater named Melanie Griffith. That was a typo on my part, and I'm glad you caught that so that I could clear that up today. That money went to a student named Melanie Griffith as a scholarship.
Can continue to follow up real quick.
Commissioner Argumento.
So these 2 positions then, I should say, the GTAs, are they employees of the debate team?
The term employee is a tough one for me. They are scholarship students for the debate team. They are not necessarily employees. We give them scholarships. They are students. The only difference between them and undergraduates is that they are in graduate school. And the students that we give undergraduate scholarships to are not employees.
I might be able to clarify more if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah, I can clarify more because I am one of the graduate teaching assistants. So we are students under who are getting our master's degrees in different programs. So I am getting my MA in communication. Nimara Freeman is getting hers in, I believe, data, like quantitative data analysis and economics. And then we serve as GTAs for the communication department. So we both teach 2 sections of COM 111 public speaking, which is where the majority of our stipend comes from. Our work with the debate team is mostly voluntary. So we give our time to the debate team in exchange for a scholarship that totals $4,000 a year. But we are mostly GTAs for the communications department. And then normally GTAs for the debate team are only hired or, only work with the debate team if they are GTAs for the comms department as opposed to anything else.
Advisor Fonseca, am I correct in saying that this is an EOF fund? It's strictly for scholarships?
There is some language in there that highlights a couple things. If you give me a second, I can pull it up and share that with you.
Commissioner Naylor.
Yes, so I have a question about the scholarships as well. Is there an application? Do you have a scholarship committee? What's the process that you guys go through to select these individuals who receive these funds?
There is an application. We don't really have a committee. I'm kind of it. And based on what's in the application, I try to be as fair as possible. I often award the scholarships before I meet anyone based on the applications that I get. But by and large, we do have an application. Our process, this is going to sound weird, but we don't usually have so many. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm the one who makes that decision.
And then are you doing more of receiving applications, or are you doing a little bit more of the recruiting side of things?
Well, I do both.
I mean, in terms of receiving debaters on your team, are you?
Yeah, I take in the applications. I also do some recruiting. The recruiting generally happens at high school debate tournaments, which I do not attend. Our debaters attend, and they direct people to me. I then talk to those people and direct them to the debate program. They ask me if there are scholarships. Oftentimes, by the time they get to me to have a conversation, they've already filled out a scholarship form. So, I can assess those before I ever even meet those kids. And then I meet them and talk to them and tell them what we possibly might be able to do for them, if anything. Did that answer your question? Okay. Some of these questions I'm not sure I'm answering correctly or even answering.
Commissioner Wong.
Since there's no committee and you said that you lead the process for choosing the scholarship, whoever gets the scholarships, how do you deduce which students get how much, and who gets it? Like, what's your rubric? Do you have one?
I mean, yes, we follow. We follow what I said earlier, which is that we start with trying to give everybody the same amount. When we have a lot of money, we're able to come closer to doing that. Then when we are forced to make decisions, the most important factor is need. And we determine that based on a number of things, how much they already have of college paid for, whether or not because that's really what we're trying to do, is trying to get them to be able to come to Wichita State so that it's affordable. And then we just work out the numbers with them, and the people who need the most are the ones who get the most.
All right, that looks like all the time we have. Advisor Fonseca, did you have the language pulled up there?
Yeah, the Educational Opportunity Fund, as defined by the statute, says that the fund shall be utilized to give financial assistance to members of the association, which we call students, to facilitate or expedite their academic pursuits at the university, and shall not be used to replace existing university support for financial aid or student services and following the requirements. It can be used for an academic scholarship or fellowship for both graduate and undergraduate students, need-based grants, including awards to students with, that has been amended, so I forgot to update here, but it's need-based grants, salaries and grants for students participating in public or community service programs, salaries for students employed in campus service program, such as tutoring, daycare, or peer counseling, and the fund shall not be used for any food, refreshments, or any social incidentals. So that's how it's defined in the statute.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much for presenting.
All right, thanks a lot.
The red light will come on.
Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
The next presentation is Student Outreach and Support. They're located on tab R or page 287.
Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You'll have 15 minutes to present your line item, covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we will have a question and answer period. We will begin with introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the vice chair.
Hi, my name is Zhao Wang. I serve as the underserved commissioner.
Hi, my name is Grace Naylor. I serve as the freshman commissioner.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the out-of-state commissioner.
Sheila Surrender, Financial Aid and Scholarships.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca, Student Government.
Michael Zepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Pletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Ronquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Gometo, International Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Fon, Speaker of the Student Senate.
Hi, I'm Luke Bum. I'm the student body treasurer and the chair, and you're welcome to start whenever you're ready.
All right. Good morning, everyone. There we go. My name is Katie Davidson, and I am the Director of Student Outreach and Support. So first, I just kind of want to give a department overview, tell you a little bit about our mission and what our services look like. So our mission is to connect every student to resources on campus and in their respective communities that foster wholeness and facilitate academic success. My department, Student Outreach and Support, was developed in 2023 to strengthen the university's care team by providing non-clinical case management. So we offer free and voluntary services to any enrolled student at Wichita State. We are also members of success teams here on campus. as we are assigned by academic colleges. We are also a member of the university's care team and serve on that. Our department structure consists of a director, a full-time lead case manager, and 3 full-time case managers. We also have 3 students currently in our office. 2 of them are applied learning, which I will mention later on. 2 applied learning positions, which are student intake specialists, as well as something that is new to our department is we welcomed our first graduate student from the Master of Social Work program, completing their internship and providing non-clinical case management services to students as well. In our department, what non-clinical case management is, it's all about helping students get the access to the care and the support that they are needing. We like to look at students holistically to assess their needs. We don't just see students as students, we see them as a person. And so we want to ensure that students are connected and supported here on campus. Going into some of our impact measures, on here I put that we directly impacted a little over 2,500 students this last year. That's graduate and undergrad students. So again, we will work with any student that is currently enrolled. But the unique ways that we actually made contact and supported those students and had an impact. 983 unique students were supported through our non-clinical case management services. A little over 1,000 students we were able to connect with through tabling events across campus, whether that would be Welcome Week, Wellness Expo, some different tabling events. We presented to first-year seminars. We do some outreach to professors in those courses, getting to go in and talk about our services, getting in front of students, letting them know who we are, what our supports are, and how we can help them. And then lastly, just under 500 students that we supported through programming. Our programming can include Transit 101, which is an event that we host at the beginning of the semester, helping students learn how to utilize public transportation. In our role as non-clinical case managers, often, so we're working with students that have barriers to being the best student they could be. Those barriers could include mental health concerns. It can include housing instability, food insecurity. Sometimes that barrier is transportation. So we designed this programming event at the request of the College of Fine Arts and the Assistant Director of First Year Programs through Student Success, because they have had multiple students come to them and giving them feedback of, hey, we need to go to Shocker Studios, but that's off campus, or I'm coming in as a freshman and I don't have a vehicle, and so I'm needing to learn how to utilize the bus system. And so it was approached to our department 2 years ago if we could create this program. And so that is something that we host at the beginning of each semester. Another programming event is Style Your Tile, and that is just an event, just expressive art, where we support students through their wellness. And lastly is Unmasking Mental Health. This is one that we have offered to some different sorority and fraternity, as well as student organizations whenever they ask us to come and present and do a programming event for them. So I had mentioned that we had worked with 983 unique students this last academic year. I will address that we had over 1,000 referrals come into our office, but again, 983 unique students. So that means some of those students had multiple reports come in, multiple reports. It could be on the same concern. It could be showing an escalation of behaviors that we are seeing for students. But in looking at, okay, well, who were these students that you guys supported? 75% of them are first generation students, 12% international. 28% of the students lived on campus. 34% were adult learners. We did work with 7 athletes this last year, and then 8% military affiliation and 3% involved in Greek life. Our highest academic college, and again, my case managers are assigned by academic college. And that's because of being part of the success teams here on campus. But the highest college that we get referrals from is liberal arts and sciences. And that's pretty common throughout the years. And that's because a lot of freshmen may be coming in as undecided or may be within a major within there. And freshmen are also our top classification of students that we work with, struggling with that transition to college, maybe struggling with some homesickness, just not knowing of resources on campus or how to get supported, maybe not knowing how to transition their care from back home to on campus. And so that's where we come in to support those students and help them through that. So I kind of gave a demographic breakdown of who the students were, little details of them. However, what are the concerns that came into our office? So some of our top concerns were students just indicating distress. And referrals can come into our office by faculty, staff, students. Students can come as a walk-in. We get a lot of referrals. Faculty is actually our top referrer for students coming over to our office, with specialized advisors being the second. But some of those top concerns were just students vocalizing that they were facing distress and needing some supports. And our second top concern that was reported were students expressing hopelessness, fear, or worthlessness. And then lastly, a deterioration of quality of work. But those are just the top 3 concerns. And then in breaking that down, when students get referred over to our office, that's when we do our assessment of, okay, emotionally, physically, financially, let's assess you holistically to see kind of what those concerns are. If we're struggling with our deterioration of quality of work, what's impacting that? Okay, it's being impacted because now we're a caregiver of a parent in the home, or maybe that we transferred here from out of state, but we never were able to get our mental health services or our medication transferred over to here as well. So let us connect you and help you get those things set up. But some of the unique risk, 139 students reported to us that they were having suicidal ideation. Wichita State has done a very good job of creating this culture of care on campus, so students feel comfortable voicing these things. And I think it's a great thing to highlight just the community as a whole of how we can support students and the services that are available on campus. We did have 49 students come to our office that reported attempting suicide this past year by various means. One specific data point I want to highlight is there were 62 students hospitalized for illness and injury, and then 30 students hospitalized for mental health. So that is 92 students this past year that my office was able to connect with. Not only do we provide outreach, and I'll dive into that a little bit more on another slide, but not only are we doing outreach specifically to students, but we are also doing outreach to community partners that can help and assist during these times of crisis that students are having. So all 92 of those students that were hospitalized received outreach from my office, and we helped coordinate their care while they were in the hospital. We do that coordination of care of contacting faculty while the student is unable to, assisting with their academics. We also help in their transition back to campus, whether that's getting them connected with a med provider, getting them connected with the appropriate resources on campus, if there's some type of accommodation that's being needed. And so we do all that coordination of care to take that stress off a student and to help them just kind of in that transition back. Underneath each of those bullet points, I also put the number of students that were transported from campus. My office carries a 24-hour on-call duty phone. Anytime a transport takes place from campus and a student is being transported to the hospital for injury, illness, or mental health reasons, my office is contacted. We provide all of the coordination of care as a student is being transported. So gathering, if it's for a mental health reason, such as if there was a suicide attempt and a student is being transported for mental health, we're gathering the mental health history. We're contacting the hospital to coordinate in that transition of them going. And then again, supporting them while they're in the hospital. We have a very close relationship with ComCare Community Crisis as well as the social work team at St. Joe, to where we can coordinate those services, ensure a student's supported, and not penalized academically for receiving the help that they're needing. And then lastly, 108 students came to us reporting basic needs not being met. So that includes homelessness and food insecurity. I'd mentioned, so in our name, student outreach and support. You might be saying, well, what is outreach? So we do conduct risk-informed outreach, and it's based off of the NABITA risk rubric. And NABITA is the National Association for Behavioral Intervention and Threat Assessment. All of my staff have attended trainings through NABITA, and we have received certifications through them for our work, which includes case management, support interventions, and non-clinical suicide assessment. So in our outreach efforts, we provide outreach to students based on their risk, whether that would be phone calls, emails, the frequency of how often those are happening. And then, so up on here is just some data about the amount of letters that we had sent out. So letters or emails, we utilize Maxient, it's our case management system, as well as the number of phone calls that we've made to students, including the phone calls made to hospitals or the ComCare Community Crisis Center for our coordination of care. With our services being about access to care or access to services, our top referrals, I had placed our 4 top referrals on here, with counseling and psychological services being our top referral that we provide to students. And majority of the time, it is students that maybe hadn't heard of their services or just maybe was hesitant to begin services, but needed some extra encouragement and extra support in trying to reach out and get those set up. 272 referrals to success coaches for academics, 138 referrals to the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing, and then 115 students were informed of the Shocker Support Locker. And even though I have our top referrals on here for on-campus, I do want to highlight that in our mission, we talk about connecting students to resources on campus and in their respected communities. So we also refer out to the community when it's appropriate. This last academic year, our top referral off campus was to ComCare Community Crisis because they can assist after hours or on weekends if a student is in a mental health crisis. We made 39 referrals to United Way, 12 referrals to the Wichita Area Sexual Assault Center, and then we assisted 11 students in finding shelter in a domestic violence shelter. I have to brag on my team. They're awesome. And they are the backbone that really just carry this office, providing these supports, supporting students. And this past year, in the last 2 years, we had 2 different recognitions on campus that I just wanted to highlight. So in fall of '24, so this is a year after our department was developed, a year after providing services. We were awarded the Outstanding Collaboration Award through Student Success. And again, being a member of success teams is through student success. And then this past fall, in fall of '25, we were awarded the Suspenders for Hope Champion, which is through counseling and psychological services. Our department does...
Sorry, your time is up. I'll now open up the floor for any questions from commissioners. Commissioner Argumento.
Yes, thank you for coming in and presenting today. I just have a clarifying question. Please, anybody can jump in and tell me if I'm wrong. But on question 2, you're requesting $58,086 to support 1 full-time position for a case manager and advocate position. On page 8, it says, or question 8, the salary of the position is $45,000, and I was just wondering about that $13,000 difference.
Yes, that difference is because of benefits and fringe benefits, which benefits will differ based on if a person's benefits will only be for them or for their family. And so, but that difference is made up with benefits.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wong.
Is there a reason why this full-time case manager is not being covered by CARE?
When you say care, are you referencing care team?
Yes.
Referencing care team. So previously, before this department was developed in '23, there were full-time case managers that belonged to care team but not to a department. Because of the growth of referrals coming in and the support that was needed, that's why this department was developed. And so within our department, we have 3 positions that are GU funded, 1 that is RU funded through student fees, and then 1 position that is funded through housing and residence life because of the support that we give with them, specifically not just for students on campus, but also for the after-hours calls whenever transports are typically taking place. Majority of them live in housing.
So I had a question regarding the question 12 that we had asked. You kind of explained a little bit about a situation where there was a position that was vacant. You eventually got it filled. And then towards the end, you said if it was not filled, or if it had been filled earlier, then you would have had to pull funds elsewhere. Could you explain a little bit of where you could pull funds from outside of your current options?
Yes, so this RU funded position through student fees was vacant for a little while. And so but when we filled it, we didn't need, so there was a slight decrease, a deficit of $5,396.17 through cuts. And if we would not have received that, if we would have filled the position in time, that deficit would have had an impact on us, but we would have been able to pull funds, whether that was last case scenario, split funded position with GU, or potentially pull it over from another line.
And then could you talk a little bit about the impact that that had of not being able to have that position filled for a certain amount of time?
The deficit specifically at that time didn't have a large impact on the position being filled. It just takes a while to get positions filled, and so we were able to save with that, if that's what you mean.
More specifically, the impact that it had on your entity's operations without having that full-time position being filled.
Yes. We did have to make some shifts just on funding lines within our Department of funding out of which departments. Again, 3 positions are GU, 1 is RU, and 1 is student fees. And so we did have to make shifts in who was funded and which positions were funded out of which departments to cover up for that, so we weren't impacted.
Sorry, I'm not talking financials here. I'm talking strictly, number of referrals you were able to get out, kind of the student impact that this position not being filled had on them.
Okay. Yes, so a student impact, being down a position does mean that my other case managers have higher caseloads. We were able, since it wasn't too long of a period, and part of it was during the summer hours, which we do see some lower referrals coming over, it didn't have too significant of an impact because we were able to, our caseloads were a little bit higher. I think if it was longer, we would have seen a lot higher impact, and that could have meant like longer wait times for students to get connected with us and get into our office for those meetings. If we do see that students have a higher risk, like a suicidal ideation, suicide attempt, we need to get to see them as soon as possible. And so those, of course, always take priority. However, we did see an impact of higher caseloads for case managers during that time. Thank you for clarifying that.
Commissioner Wong.
How many cases per manager does each person receive?
Our services are short-term, so it depends on really what the student need is. We might only meet with a student once, we might meet with them about 4 or 5 times. A typical caseload during a calm season, because we do see trends and we can analyze that throughout the semester, but during a calm season, we're sitting at about 20 to 25. During times where it's, we have more referrals coming in, and that's typically the very beginning of a semester, midterms, and then closer to finals, we can be sitting sometimes as high as 40 students on our caseload that we're working with. We have seen other trends where Yes, the caseload timeframe could be potentially, so if it's a lower time, 20 to 25 students, probably about for a month. Yeah, and our services, if we're meeting with the students, usually once a week.
Commissioner Peng.
Hi, so it says that you received $16,560 in applied learning funds in FY26, but these funds will not continue into FY27. Is that just because it hasn't opened up yet to apply for them, or?
That's correct. It hasn't opened up yet. We do plan to apply for applied learning funds. We currently have 2 applied learning students in our office, and we want to continue those positions.
Any other questions? Commissioner Wong.
Is there a reason why this position is not GU funded alongside the other 2?
Mm-hmm. So our services, we're here to support students like every other office on campus. However, we feel that, I believe that student fees really ensures equitable access, timely intervention. We are a support for students, and it should be funded through student fees. We also help with retention and persistence here on campus. In our feedback surveys, we did have 61% of students say that because of meeting with our office, they're likely to continue at Wichita State. And we had 65% students say that our office positively impacted them in their overall experience and that they would refer someone else to our office. We do have one position that's funded through Housing and Residence Life, and that's because they have seen the impact that our office makes. They see the work that we are doing and the supports that we're providing for students. And so my request to student fees is that you also see this impact on our campus and that you'll support our staff and services.
Commissioner Peng.
So under question 2, it has listed that you guys receive $25,390 in additional revenue annually, and that SEB provides a transfer of $5,390 to your department. In return, that money of general use funding is provided back to SEB. Can you talk a little bit more about that? That might be a question for Dr. Fonseca. But.
Yeah, I can initiate that. So they had a position that was split funded, and you can chime in if you need to, but they had a position that was split funded between GU and RU. And so to make a position not split funded, that's where that transfer came in, to where they give us a portion of RU where we can give them some GU so they can have one fully funded GU position.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll add to that is that it does, when it was split funded, it does cost on the RU side a little bit more to have that position because you pay the benefits and all those other things as well. This happened about 3 years ago, and at that point, that student body treasurer and student body president signed off on that so that it was in compliance with the statute that governs the transfer language. So that's just been a practice we've been doing until we can shift some of that permanently so we don't have to keep doing the transfer. We just haven't been able to do that recently at this time yet.
Commissioner Peng.
Thank you for that information. And it also states that the transfer funds from SEB is also used for other operating expenses. Can you talk a little bit more what of other operating expenses?
Yeah, so that goes into just our OOE lines. It helps with professional development. As I mentioned, we carry a 24-hour duty phone. It helps cover the ongoing costs of that. Any of our programming, hospitality supplies for our office.
Any other questions from any commissioners? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Red light will come on.
Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
The next group is the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing. They're located on tab S or page 300.
Welcome and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You will have 15 minutes to present your line item, covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we will have a question and answer period. We will begin with introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the vice chair.
Hi, my name is Xiaowen Wang. I serve as the underserved commissioner.
My name is Grace Naylor. I serve as the freshman chair.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the out-of-state commissioner.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca, Student Government.
Michael Zepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Pletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Ronquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Gomedo, International Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Thon, Speaker to Student Senate.
Hi, I'm Luke Bum. I'm the student body treasurer and the chair, and you're welcome to start whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. Can you all hear me? I have a habit of my voice kind of going bye-bye, but I'll put my probation officer voice on, so ex-probation officer. First, I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to come in here and give a report to you on where we're at with OSAT. I'd like to recognize my team for their dedication for providing accommodations and services to the students with disabilities. Jennifer Nicholson, Assistant Director, Carmen Ortiz, Coordinator for Testing, Kelly Rawlings for Lead Interpreter, Greg Keegan for Access Coach, Josh Roeder for Access Coach, Kayla Shanes for Access Coach, Shasta Steinhardt for Access Coach, and Stacy Shanahan, who's our Administration Specialist, who is our glue. I just wanted to let you know that providing accommodations take a village. I'd also like to thank John Jones at MRC and M. Cribbs at AAA for Braille support to the students that are blind. Also Trio DSS that provides support to students with disabilities. CAPS that provides counseling to students. CARE Team that provides a frontline support to all students, including students with disabilities. And CTAC for doing investigations on discriminations based on disability. And more importantly, my boss, Alicia Newell, who always has my back. It should be noted that we don't charge our students with disability for any of the services provided. The only time we ever charge a student for anything is if they don't return our EchoPen, which costs about $250. Just so you know, it's been a rough year financially with increases in students that are needing American Sign Language. That's been an issue. We've probably doubled the amount of students needing that actual service. So that's probably reflected in our budget, and you probably have seen that already. Center of Disease Control reports 28.7% or 1 in 4 adults of the United States that has some type of disability. We have students that have cognitive disabilities, mobility disabilities, students that are deaf and hard of hearing, and students that are blind or have vision impairment. Who is disabled under the American with Disability Act? That's again civil rights legislation that was passed in 1990 along with some 2010 amendments. A person or an individual that has a physical impairment that substantially limits a major life activity, has a record of such a disability, or is regarding having a disability. These life activities include, but not limited to, learning, working, walking, breathing, hearing, and seeing, and other physical sensory functions, including focus. And that's why we have a large number of students with ADHD, because again, focus is one of the issues for some of our students. What we do is place accommodations in order to try to meet that student's specific needs. Again, we're the ones that determine the reasonable accommodations for the students with disabilities. Again, we need documentation of the disability to be able to go forward on accommodations. I want to thank SGA for the assessment monies that you guys put together. I think it was last year. My understanding is all those assessments were used right away before I even could get the information out to students. Have had other requests for the same thing. So again, I want to thank you very much for providing that. It's a great resource. So learning disabilities, auditory processing, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyslexia, there's about 17 main types of learning disabilities. Students that may have medical issues, it could be cancer, cerebral palsy, diabetes, migraines. Psychologically, it could be students that have the diagnosis of ADHD, anxiety, depression. Could be students that, it could be hearing, speaking, seeing, students that are deaf, perhaps a student that has a, as they say, stuttering, and or blind and vision impaired. Accommodations can include, again, depending on the documentation and the interactive process that we have with the students when we meet with them, could include things like extended testing time, private testing time, sign language interpreter, could be that they have to record their class, their lectures, it could be single rooms, emotional support animals, assistive technology that we use, and again, thank you for providing some of the funds for these, specifically the Smart Pen, Kurzweil, and Genio. These are just some of the demographics for this fall. We provided accommodations to over 854 students, fall of '25. That was undergraduate and graduate students that actively were using their accommodations. I'm not going to bore you with the demographics. If you're wanting more information on that, I'm assuming that you do have a copy of this. But again, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, graduates. We're getting a lot more graduate students, which I'm happy to see, that we're really kicking that up. And the other thing that we're really working on is making sure that we provide accommodations to students that are going into internships, practicums, clinicals. It's an area that we forget about, that we need to make sure that that support is going to be there, because you as students going out into the work world will need to know how to get accommodations in the workplace. And my goal for this semester is to do a program specifically on that for our students to know what's going to be out there and what things they may run into. One of the things is you have to learn how to advocate for self. That is one of the biggest things. Again, all majors, all backgrounds. Disability does not know anything about your skin color, your income. It could come in your life at any time. This is my thing that I actually, at the end of every semester, I check to see how many of our students have graduated. It is the time for me to be going, woo, woo, and I kick everybody out of the office because they might think I'm a little weird. But I do a happy dance for every one of my students. So associate's degree, 1 student, fall, 25. So it was 69 students total, 34 with Bachelor of Arts, 6 with Bachelor of Business Administration, 23 Bachelor of Science, 4 masters, and 1 doctorate. These students utilized their accommodations pretty much all through their career. And again, I will go woo, woo. These are some of the assistive technologies that have been purchased in the past and currently through SGA funds. One is the Echo Smart Pens. Currently we have 51 pens that are being utilized by our students. We sent out a survey about what is the favorite feature of the Echo Smart Pen platform. Student 1 said how it can record and translate. Student 2 says, I have no favorite interest, only how successful and reliable it's been to me, that I greatly applaud its work. Then we have Glean, or now it's called Genio. Basically, it helps students with note-taking. Currently, we have students that are deaf or hard of hearing using that, and also students with severe dexterity issues. We have 20 licenses, and I believe it's right now at 17 students are using those licenses. Survey question was favorite feature of Glean platform. It has speech to text, that it breaks up the recording into specific slides, the ability to add closed captioning to understand notes better. The other student said, I also like the feature that can turn your notes into a quiz for more effective study. So we are looking at, and you may have that question of why are we only doing 1-year subscriptions at this point in time? We're trying to see which one of these programs is going to be the best one for our students, because again, assistive technology changes rapidly, and we want to make sure that our students have the most up-to-date sources for them. Kurzweil 3000 helps with reading, writing. Right now, let's see. Okay. One of the responses about their favorite feature about Kurzweil 3000. It reads my books to me. It's very simple to use, very straightforward, and the ability to change the voice. I forewarn you, do not change it to English, male, and listen to Jane Austen, because you won't be listening. You'll be in a different place thinking about Jane Austen. But it's wonderful, and part of the reason that we purchased this was because we're getting a lot of students that have never been evaluated and maybe struggling with reading and writing. This takes care of that. It should be noted that 263 WSU students downloaded Kurzweil, and of those 263 WSU students, 147 were OSAT students. The other 117 were non-OSAT students. So this is a program that's not just for students that are connected with OSAT, it's for all of our students. Right now, I'm showing you the Kurzweil usage from 1/1/25 to current. You kind of see that students really use it during midterms and finals, which makes sense. We're happy to see this increase. We've been doing a lot more marketing. You probably have seen our lawn flags and things that we have put out there in order to make sure that our students, all students, know about what we use. Breakdown of purchases, SGA money spent fiscal year 2026. And this may not be on your one sheet of paper. I noticed that we did not put Genio within that budget, but we did pay with SGA funds Genio for 1 year up to 20 users, paid $4,565 in September of 25. To use Genio properly, we also had to purchase some wireless remote microphones and also wireless earbuds and tie clips for wireless earbuds. Kurzweil 3000, we did a 1 year, again, this is for all students, paid $4,400 in January of 26. As of this date, the reserve is $16,737.29. Just so you know, and my boss can say this for certain, I am a tightwad, okay? I make sure that our monies are going to be used wisely. I also am very strategic to make sure that we have monies in case some kind of emergency happens. Last year or 2 years ago, we had a student that lost their hearing, and we had to make sure that we had CART available to that student. That cost at that time $950 per week. I'm certain the price has even gotten higher up than that. So again, if you're wanting to know why we have this reserve, it's for emergencies, but understand the monies that you give us is more for, I call it the cherry on top. There's lots of money that goes to paying for interpreters, and when you ask me questions, I can tell you how much. Again, this is some of the survey responses. Students stated the relief I feel and the lack of stress surrounding testing. Again, this was the most helpful thing about registering with our office. The rides to class, the fact that we okayed an emotional support animal for the student. Again, private testing rooms, the fact that we emailed the students accommodations to their professors and they also get a copy of it. Second one, most helpful part is informing of faculty, which allows conversations about how to manage my struggles effectively and getting the accommodations. Here's a call out to one of our staff members. Josh Roeder is amazing. He always is there to help and is passionate to see his students succeed and get the help that they may need. I am thankful for all his assistance he has given me in the last 3 years. Last but not least, they are all amazing and a huge part of the WSU experience. Here's our QR code for registering for accommodations. I also handed that out to you, so you have a nice little flyer there. This also is the QR code to schedule exams, so we're all in one house. Again, we are now at our new lovely location, clean. Everything's clean and smells clean. And we have enough testing rooms to be able to cover the amounts of testing that we're doing. In fact, last semester we did over 3,500 tests, individual testing. So again, our numbers keep increasing. Have we already outgrown our space? Yes. And we'll have to try to figure out what we're going to do beyond that. Again, not knowing about statistics for next year, I am going to guess that we'll get another 50 new students, because that's usually between 50 to 100 students per year. When I first started here, we had 200 students, and now, as I stated already, 854, and that was in 2019 is when I came in, right before COVID. Okay.
All right, thank you so much for your presentation. I'll now open up the floor to any questions. Commissioner Wong.
I had a question about your reserves. In question 4 on page 303, it states that OSAC carried forward $43,131.21, and of that, $21,526.29 were student fee funds. That That is 2.13 times the fiscal year 27 request. Can you explain why there are so much of student fee reserves in there? Because last year when OSAT came to present, OSAT said that this would be helping to pay for assistive technology. And I see here on the fiscal data on page 312, your capital outlay, which is your student fee funds of $10,107, had been expended at $0, which meant that no dollars of student fee funds were utilized.
Again, when I pulled the information specifically within that other sheet, I have total revenue of $22,868 on the student service funding request.
Are you referring to the number from 2025 of your total revenue? That $23,000 number includes gifts from the foundation and transfers from other funds. Her question was regarding the reason that you have $21,526 in reserves strictly of student fees, which is more than double of the request for this year. And she was wondering if the student fees from last year that you were allocated were expended.
Again, the amount that was spent was for the, was the $4,565 in September of '25, and then the Kurzweil for $4,400. Does that answer your question?
I don't know when OSAT turned in this application per se, but I just don't see, I guess I'm trying to clarify the discrepancy between how much you have in student fees funds in your reserve right now. I know some of that is made up of other emergency funds, as you stated in question 4, but I am trying to clarify right now how much do you have in student fees still in the reserves, not spent.
My understanding from pulling up the information that our reserves are at $16,737.29.
I think if you go to page 303 in the binder, and maybe Scott, you can help answer this question too. And Commissioner Wong, correct me if maybe I'm trying to understand your question. So on page 303, question 4, there's a total carry forward of $43,131.21 in RU. So this is what the sentence says. We carried forward $43,131.21 in RU. The $43,131.21 is made up of $21,526.29 of student fees funds. The question is why there's such a substantial amount of, and correct me wrong, why there's such a substantial amount of student fee funds, doubling the amount of what is being requested for this upcoming year. Is that what you're trying to understand?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know, Scott, if you have an answer.
So again, the reason I'm jumping in is we work with Isabel from a student affairs perspective in trying to deal with what we would call unanticipated assistive tech needs. And what we've seen over the last few fiscal years is those are so unpredictable, but this year in particular, those costs are exploding, ballooning. And to give a kind of 4-year history, we started out funding OSAT with about $100,000 of assistive tech funds from a combination of the Provost's office and student affairs. And just because of funding restrictions, that shrunk down to a $25,000 fund. So I think what Isabel is trying to do is to continue to maintain this fund as sort of the emergency fund in addition to what student affairs helps supply. Does that answer your question?
I guess if I'm on the same page as Commissioner Wong here. We do understand that this entity receives large amounts of funds from other sources, and we get that this entity also does need a large reserve for unexpected expenses. However, the question that we have is, why is there such a large number of strictly student fee dollars that are still in the reserve? Not from the other sources, strictly student fees.
Yeah, and I'll continue to jump in. I think, again, because we wouldn't move them to this emergency fund so that you all can see exactly how much of those dollars are spent, but I think they try and save these dollars for last, spend down GU so that these can roll forward to save for emergencies. And I think, again, Isabel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it'd be easy for her to spend these instead of other funds and then show a large pot elsewhere. But I think she's pivoted to this being more of her emergency fund. And so it's almost like I see the concern of like she's building up a reserve that looks like it's bigger than the actual request, but that's because other areas are shrinking and she can't transfer out to that emergency fund per SGA stipulations. Does that help answer that? Because really, if you look at her total emergency fund, it used to be 100,000. I think total now is about 45,000 between this fund and the student affairs fund. So,
may I add something else? The total of costs for fiscal year 25 for sign language interpreting services invoices was $14,979.50. Total for FY 26 to date now is $38,351. So we've almost tripled in the cost of that. So we have to try to figure out, it's again, where do we put this? Where do we move that to be able to make sure that we stay out of the red, but also to make sure that we continue to provide services to our students, and also to be able to have extra things, i.e. the Kurzweil and the Glean.
Any other questions from any commissioners? Commissioner Wong.
I don't know if this is a point of order or point of information to the association's advisor, but student fee funds are not restricted in what they can be used for unless the Student Fee Commission stipulates so, correct? They can use these funds to purchase these assistive technologies that they say they are saving up for, correct?
Yes.
So I think that's a complicated question, so I might try and, if I'm not answering your question, please let me know. Yeah, so student fee dollars in general they're approved for specific reasons based off of what is presented in annual presentation. So when you think about, we'll use this for example, when this first came on as a line item was maybe 3-4 years ago. I don't know if Lindsay, if you have that off the top of your head, but that feels right, a little closer. We're in this couple past years. And when it was approved for a very specific thing. And so annually when individuals present their budgets, unless they are telling the commission a different way of how they're gonna spend it, it's expected by the commission and by student government that then those dollars are being spent on the thing that was originally approved for. So a similar thing would be for EOF accounts. EOF accounts are restricted to the things that they're approved for based off of what they submitted that they're going to spend those dollars on. Same case exists on student fee side or the support service fee side. Now there's some wiggle room, but there's language in there that requires that some of that be approved before it can be earmarked differently. Every spring when they submit budgets, they are able to then redetermine how they want to spend those dollars based off of, again, the approval of the overall commission. So yes, but there's also still the nuance of when budgets are ultimately adopted, they are ultimately adopted for specific things too. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay.
Any final thoughts? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate the time.
Well, thank you for your time.
Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
All right, the final one for today. So there are three in this one. It's in tab T. It's the McNair Scholars Program, the Graduate Fellowship Program, which are their two EOF accounts, and then the Graduate Student Programming, which is a Student Support Service account. So that starts on page 314, is the EOF side, and then the other one is on 323, which is the Student Support side.
All right, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You'll have 15 minutes to present your line item, covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we'll have a question and answer period, and we will begin with introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the vice chair.
Hi, my name is Jiawen Wang. I serve as the underserved commissioner.
Hi, my name is Grace Naylor. I serve as a freshman commissioner.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the out-of-state commissioner.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca, Student Government.
Michael Zepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Pletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Runquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Gomedo, International Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Thon, Speaker of the Student Senate.
Hi, I'm Luke Baum. I'm the Student Body Treasurer and the Chair. You're welcome to start whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you for the time that you are spending working for this commission. My name is Enrique Navarro. I am the Associate Dean in the Graduate School. Today I'm going to be presenting three different initiatives, three different programs that we have in the Graduate School. Graduate students, obviously, they benefit from many services that are funded by student fees. What I'm going to present are initiatives and programs that try to tackle some specific needs that graduate students have. In the last 3 years, the number of graduate students has increased over 20% in the last 5 years, 21.77%. And these are the three programs that we are requesting funding for. We have the EOF scholarships, then we have the McNair Scholars Program, and last but not least, we have the Professional Development Program. I want to mention that we are requesting the same amount that we received last year with the 10% discount that you requested. So historically, we have requests between 10,000 and 12,000 for each of these programs. But we understand that the budget is tight, so we want to take that into account. And when we wrote this request, we didn't increase any of the funding requests. So let me start with the EOF scholarships. This is for part-time students. Graduate students, they don't receive federal funding, or at least they don't receive so much federal funding as undergraduate students. And obviously, graduate students that are part-time students, they are not eligible for federal funding. Most of the scholarships on campus request that a student is a full-time student. They cannot be graduate teaching assistants, for example. So the funding opportunities that these students have are really limited. These are scholarships that are need-based. We request students to provide information and they can apply after their first semester. We want to make sure that the students are on the right track, that they have at least a 3.0 GPA, and then they can apply, but they need to provide some financial information so that we make sure that they are eligible. The maximum that we grant is $1,000, but there is a maximum. The reality is that in most cases they are going to get something between $8,000, $7,000, $600, sorry, depending on the allocation that we receive from the SGA. On average, we have something between 20 to 30 applicants per year. Now, the impact, this is going to benefit first-generation students. In many cases, we have single parents that have 2 or 3 children, they have a job, they are trying to get a graduate degree because that is going to help them improve their lives, and we think that they need some help, and probably this is one of the few ways in which they can receive some funding to really get that degree. The request that we are doing for this academic year is $9,000. I want to note that every time that we have received funding from the SGA, we have fully allocated all the funding that we have received, and usually we award something between 10 and 16 scholarships per academic year. If you do the math, then you understand that no student is going to get $1,000. The second program that we are requesting funding for is the McNair Scholars program. This is also a need-based program. Basically, McNair Scholars are undergraduate students that, first of all, they are low-income students, and they can be either first-generation student or they can be underrepresented minorities. If they meet this criteria, then they are part of the McNair Scholars program on campus. And once they finish the degree, if they want to continue their education, we provide this funding to them so that they can continue their education. The maximum is $2,000, but again, if you do the numbers, you are going to see that we never have been able to grant $2,000 to any McNair student. We are requesting $8,000. Again, every time that we get funding from the SGA, we have fully allocated all the funding. You are going to see that in this case, 2026, fiscal year 2026 is not included because we plan on funds on additional students this semester. But in the last 5-6 years, we have always fully allocated all the money that we have received from the SGA. And on average, we fund 8 to 14 students. Last but not least, we have the professional development program. This was funded 11 years ago, and we have 4 areas. One of them is wellness, and that includes opportunities so that graduate students can connect, can interact, can meet each other. Those are social events, but we also have mental health presentations for graduate students. Related to career, we work with the Soccer Career Accelerator to bring students on campus, to create career fairs for graduate students. For research, we have, for example, one of the things that we emphasize is academic writing, how to write a thesis, how to present in conferences. We have 3 different on-campus competitions for graduate students, 2 of them in the spring and one in the fall. And teaching is mainly for GTAs. We want to make sure that GTAs that teach classes on campus are well prepared. So we provide different opportunities for them. And also some graduate students, they want to become university professors. So the idea is that even if they are not GTAs, but they are interested in education, we provide some opportunities for them with different presenters on campus. The impact is all graduate students, although basically all our activities are open to everybody. If we have an undergraduate student that wants to attend any of our events, they are more than welcome to do so. And we cover basically international students, underrepresented students, first-generation students, online students. We have a great amount of students that are part-time students, and many of them are online students. About half of the graduate student population are part-time students, and as you see, around 35% of our students are online students. That's why we design very carefully our events so that if there is an opportunity to involve online students, we always do so, or if there is possible to record the event, we always do so. The request is $10,000. Again, the student population has grown over 20% in the last 5 years, and the number of attendees, for example, last fiscal year was over 1,000 students. The student population, the graduate student population on campus right now is a little more than 3,000 students, which means that a third of the graduate student population attend our events. That doesn't include the recordings that we have online. Some of our videos, they have over 400 views, and we assume that many of those views come from online students. What we have done with the current funding is to try to mix presenters, guest presenters that are not WSU presenters, but also invite people on campus that probably can do a great presentation, and obviously that is going to lower our budget. If you see, we have some presenters, and usually they don't charge more than $300 or even less. At times we get some speakers that are okay with not getting paid at all. Basically, the idea is that those speakers are going to be speakers that present either via Teams or via Zoom, and that way also online students can watch those presentations. For certain events, when we see that event is going to be too expensive, we try to partner with another unit on campus. For example, with the Soccer Career Accelerator, we try to bring at least once per academic year or fiscal year a speaker that was a former employee of LinkedIn, and he does a presentation about how LinkedIn works, so that students have more chances to get a job or a job interview. And in the last 2 years, he has presented not only about LinkedIn, but how to work with LinkedIn and artificial intelligence, and to get more chances to get interviews. In those cases, I mean, this is a speaker that charges $2,000. We partner with the Soccer Career Accelerator. They pay $1,000. We pay $1,000. Many of our events, almost half of our events, are zero-cost events. There is no cost. Basically, we try to create as many events as possible with the funding that we receive. Something that we have seen, we have done some research, and we have realized the rising cost of food. So if we include catering, at times we try to find or to check with different catering companies and see if we see a difference in pricing. We are cutting expenses whenever possible. For example, this month we are going to take 10 students to Topeka so that they present their research at the Capitol. Usually we will rent a van, and that will be over $300. And then we found out that we can rent a van from the university, and that is only $100. So we have saved some money there. And something that was suggested 2 years ago by members of this commission was to create a student fee. And we analyzed the kind of programming that we do, and we thought that it was a good idea for some kind of events to create a student fee, and we created this orientation fee that is a $10 fee for all incoming students. And basically what we have done is that all orientation and GTA trainings are being covered by that fee, and we don't ask the GSA to provide funding for those events. So that you have an idea, we have, on average per academic year, 10 sessions that are either orientation or GTA training, and 7 of them, they include catering. We have also an online platform that we need to pay, and over the summer we also have pre-orientation sessions. For that, we need a Zoom account, and we pay over $100 for that membership. So those are like little expenses, but with that fee, we have been able to cover all those orientation sessions with money that is not from the SGA. And that is my presentation. If you have any questions, I will be more than glad to answer those. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We're now going to open the questioning period. I want to let the commission know that because this is 3 separate items, we're going to split the questions up individually. So the first item that you guys should strictly be asking questions for is for the graduate fellowship. Any questions on that? Okay, so now we'll take questions about the McNair Scholars Program. Speaker Fawn?
Yeah, so on question 7, you mentioned a committee that looks through a lot of the applications and determines who gets the applications, who gets the scholarships. So could you go over the process a little bit more detail on what that committee is comprised of, or how the decision-making process and giving out awards for this program?
Thank you so much. Yeah, usually what we do is that we first work with the McNair Scholars Program to identify students that have been McNair Scholars here on campus. Obviously, we can have transfer students. So first we check with the McNair Scholars Program. We check also with individual programs to ask them. And then we send also notifications via social media or via email to all students, so that if we have missed any student, they can identify themselves and they can apply for this financial opportunity. Basically, the number depends obviously on the number of scholars that we have. We receive those applications, we see the funding that we have, and basically we have a committee in the graduate school, and we make those decisions. I mean, what we check also is, has a student received funding in the past? Is this student progressing toward degree completion? Is the student doing good progress? I mean, there are different aspects that we take into account. Usually what we have in mind is, okay, with the funding that we have, let's try to find as many students as possible. But obviously, if we see a student that is not doing a lot of progress, but we see an incoming student that is promising, probably we are going to increase the funding for the incoming student.
Any other questions? All right, we will now move into questions for the graduate programming section. I had a quick question. I really appreciate the itemized list of all of the events and where those funds are being allocated to. Could you dive a little deeper into some of your software subscriptions covered by this, including the co-video and the mail merge softwares?
Yeah. Yeah, co-video is basically a platform that allows us to communicate via video messaging. Something that we have realized is that sending, and probably you are going to understand this, you receive a lot of emails. And at times those emails contain information that is really important, like deadlines. We have seen that a lot of students miss deadlines that are important for them to graduate, just because they receive not only emails from us, but also emails from everybody else on campus. So we made the decision to use something different, and basically what we do is that the students receive an email, but there is a video embedded. And we have seen, for example, something that graduate students need to do, and I think that undergraduate students, you also have to do that. The semester that you plan to graduate, you have to submit an application for degree. So we had a lot of students that were missing that deadline, and it created a lot of work on our side, and at times it was impossible to graduate a student on time. So we implemented this video messaging, and one of the videos, the video about application for degree, got over 400 views. And from that year on, the number of students that meets the application for degree deadline has been reduced. We have also used this platform for trainings that the students need to take. For example, the students that we are going to take to Topeka, we have created a training with that platform, and this is ADA compliant. So it's a tool that is helping us communicate in a more effective way with the students. The same applies to mail merge. If you have been working with mail merge, I mean, you can do that with Microsoft Word, but there are some limitations. With Microsoft Word, if I want to do a mail merge, Microsoft Word is going to use my personal email. Many students on campus, they know who I am, and if they receive an email from me, they are going to open it. But not everybody knows who is Enrique Navarro. So if we want to send an email addressed to the student and with specific information, even including an attachment that is different depending on the student, the only way that we can do it is paying a subscription for this application. And this application basically allows many different things, and one of them is that I can create a communication, I can do mail merge with Word, but then I can select our general inbox to send that communication, and students are going to get an email from our main inbox, so they're going to receive an email from WSU Graduate School and not from Enrique Navarro. So it is allowing us to do a lot of things and to tailor and personalize our communications, and at times we need to send a similar communication with different information, even with different attachments to students. We checked with ITS on campus, and that was their suggestion. They say, okay, there is no way that you can do what you are trying to do with Word. The only way that we know that will facilitate to do that is to purchase this membership.
Thank you. And then another question that I had is, you may be familiar with many of the registered student organizations that identify themselves with the graduate school. You may also know that Student Government Association also funds these organizations, and those numbers for those budgets are continually going up, most of those dollars being allocated towards programming for graduate students. So in the past couple of years, have you seen this specific graduate programming kind of having a decrease in attendance just because of the supplementation of some of those other RSOs having their own programming?
Yeah, I mean, I have to disclose that I am a co-advisor of the Graduate Student Council, and we work closely. I mean, the graduate school always works closely with all student organizations, not only the Graduate Student Council, but on other graduate student organizations that maybe are more connected to a specific program, for example, in engineering. So we try to collaborate with as many organizations as possible, and if there is an event that maybe we can collaborate with, we do that, even allocating some funding. What I have seen is that at times they do things that are different because they are more tailored to a specific audience. For example, in the case of, there is a graduate student organization in biomedical engineering. They are pretty active, they are really active, but many of their events, they are catered mainly for engineering students, and even more so to biomedical engineering students. That doesn't mean that they don't do, or they don't organize events that can be interesting for graduate students in general. But we try to work closely with those organizations. We have not seen a decrease in the number of students that attend our events, And again, we try to collaborate with them because we don't want any redundancies. I mean, if they are already organizing an event, I mean, if we can help, we are going to help, but the idea is not to create two events that are going to compete with each other.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, seeing no further new items on the agenda, we will begin with closing business. Advisor Fonseca.
Okay, before we jump into public forum to wrap up, just a couple of thoughts that I want to share with you all. First of all, you're done with the budget presentation, so yay. So I kind of give this little remark almost of every year now, so some of you have heard this before, so sorry, some of you have not, so yay, you get to hear it again. So before we head into deliberations tomorrow, I want to offer you a few reflections to help you center yourself after a 3-long day of presentations. As each of you walk into the room tomorrow, I encourage you to remain focused, aligned, and ready for the work ahead. Remember the charge that you have been given. The SGA bylaws task this commission with managing the allocation and rate of the student service fee. This means that you're responsible for distributing the annual revenue of the fees and to the organizations that shape student experience. And the statute governing student fees requires that every dollar you allocate has to be justified. If the request doesn't meet the definition outlined in the statute, you have a responsibility to name that and address it. You are either appointed, confirmed, or elected to serve in these roles. With that duty both to the student body and to SGA to spend dollars appropriately, thoughtfully, and responsibly. After 3 days of heavy information intake, I want to give you a moment to breathe, step back, and to reflect on the details and reconnect with your purpose. Reflect on why you joined this commission, to advocate for students, to promote fairness, and to be steward of resources wisely. And remember, the decisions that you make truly impact student life next year, and you have been entrusted with something important. As you prepare to deliberate tomorrow, remember to keep the students at the center. The key question that for every request is simple. How does this positively impact students, and is that impact worth the investment of student fees? Think about which proposals were most directly supported student well-being, community belonging, and success. Think about whether those benefits are broad, targeted, or both, and whether that aligns with the current student needs. Think about long-term impacts as well as short-term benefits. There are 18,000 students who aren't physically in this room with you tomorrow, but their needs must still be the loudest voice. And remember, budgeting isn't just about dividing money, it's about priorities. Your job is to make thoughtful, principled, and consistent allocations to hold each proposal to the same standards as much as possible. Unlike the work you've done over the rest of the year, tomorrow will come with some tension, and that is normal. Budget deliberations often include friendly disagreements, passionate advocacy, and moments where decisions feel impossible. Disagreement isn't dysfunction. It's a sign of people who care. So stay curious, not combative, challenge ideas, not each other. A productive Student Fees Commission isn't one that avoids tension, but it's one that navigates it with respect. I also want to challenge you to stay open, objective, and flexible. Do not walk into deliberations tomorrow with your decisions already made. Revisit your assumptions, listen for new perspectives, and be open to compromise. That is how strong decisions get made. And finally, remember the responsibility of this moment and the privilege of it. This work is serious and it's meaningful. You are shaping the student experience for thousands of your peers. Your efforts will create opportunities that wouldn't exist without this process. Most students will never see what happens in this deliberation room, but every student will feel the impact of what you decide. It is a privilege to be entrusted with student funds, and each of you is more than ready for that responsibility. On behalf of the student government and the university, thank you for your work that you have done and the work that you will do tomorrow.
Thank you so much for those words. To the commission, please take all of this afternoon and the evening to reflect on everything we've gone through over the past couple days, go through your notes, everything like that. We will be here tomorrow starting at 9:30, so a little bit later than normal. But please be sure to be here on time. It is the last day of this process, and it is also arguably the most important. So please get some rest tonight. Come with, like Advisor Fonseca said, fresh ideas and the willingness to compete with each other's thoughts and motions and everything like that. So good luck. So seeing no further items on the agenda, we will begin with closing.
Mr. Chair, pursuant to commission regulations as set by the SGA bylaws, the commission shall provide an opportunity for public forum at the end of each day of hearings.
I did it again, guys, sorry. Public forum provides a chance for individuals to have the privilege of speaking before the commission, limited to 3 minutes only. This is a time for the commission to listen to what the community has to say, and to that we offer our undivided respect and attention. I'd like to remind everyone that, though we allow the speakers the privilege to use this platform, the opinions of the speakers do not reflect the opinions of the association. Advisor Fonseca, has anyone requested to speak during public forum?
No.
Seeing none, the commission will stand in recess until 9:30 a.m. tomorrow.